This is a demonstration of closing Zipper Tubing Z-Track product. To do this job, you need to be sure you've sized your cable and jacket appropriately. In this case, the cable is approximately 7/8 of an inch in diameter, which means I would use 1-inch diameter zipper tubing. You definitely want to have familiarized yourself with the zipper tubing plier tool installation instructions. It can be downloaded off the website at zippertubing.com. You will need the ZTZ-SP plier tool, and if you're working by yourself, a cable tie or loose banding clamp to help pre-close the material for you. It's all described in the instructions. The first thing you're going to do is look at the material and find which side has the channel cavity. You open the tool and you can see there's a couple barbs in the end of the tool. You simply insert one of those to use your fingernail, spread it to get the other side in. And take a second. Once it's in, it'll slide back and forth. Come back about a 1/2 inch from the end, maybe 3/4, whatever fits your need. Install your cable inside the jacket, wrap it around, pick the arrow side of the track and insert it in the tool, and it will slide through the track and come out at the end. So part of the tubing will already be pre-closed. This demonstration is left-handed. It works the same way right-handed, except you might start at the opposite end. Grab the end of the pre-closed tubing and slowly rotate your hand counterclockwise and start to pull the track closed. And now what can make this job a little easier is if you're working with material that doesn't want to roll up nicely, is you can take your cable tie, and if you have somebody ahead of you with another pair of hands works fine, but if you're by yourself, sliding a cable tie around like this that's loose, that tends to pre-form the tubing for you, will make it easier. And you just simply start sliding it closed. Now, one of the most common mistakes is people will, oh my god, the tool just came off. It didn't really, but I pulled it off. And the common thought is, oh, I got to unzip and start over. You do not have to start over. Simply spread the jaws of the tool, put it up on the pre-closed track as far as it'll go, rock it back and forth as you pull, and it will re-engage, and you can continue on down. So if you're going through a lightning hole or some obstruction, you can slide the tubing along. Once the tool is reinstalled on the track, make sure the track is closed, and continue to close the track along the cable, and you continue to slide your little helper. And if it does become tight or bindy, again, just relax on it. If you squeeze the pliers too severely, you may actually make it more difficult than necessary. And we're just continuing along. And when I get to the end here, in this case, if there was a connector, obviously I'd have to remove that, but slide that along, and I've come to the end. Now, the part is not completed yet. What you want to do is take a couple seconds and go back and squeeze the track just to make sure that it's hooked on both sides of the arrowhead barb. This is also described in the installation instructions. And this one seems to be closed quite nicely. You will hear a little click or pop sometimes where it has not caught completely. And once you have the assembly, you can tighten, knot, or do whatever you want to it. The track really doesn't care. A properly installed track won't come apart easily. However, if somebody decides, which is not uncommon, 5 minutes after you've got the job completed, somebody comes along and says, oh yeah, I wanted to add an arrow, oh my god, what do I do? You can add an extra wire by just digging your fingernail under the top catch, pulling the arrow out, and once you get it out, just start to separate the material, and you can completely open the zipper tubing jacket again. And then if you had to come back to a point and do some rework or something, at one point you could unzip it to that point and then reinstall the tool and reclose. The open and close cycle is not infinite, but probably in the neighborhood of 50 to 100 cycles is probably reasonable. In most cases you won't go back in but once in a great while. But it is possible to reopen the track, and sometimes you can run your finger down the inside and it'll open too. But now this jacket has no EMI shield. There is no overlap flap. If there were an overlap flap, it would simply be sticking out and you would tuck it in as you prior to zipping it closed. Anytime you see an overlap flap, it always goes on the inside of the finished part. Probably the most important thing that can be done to learn how to do zipper tubing with a Z-Track and use a plier tool is to follow the installation instruction document. There are numerous pictures that depict all the things you just saw in the video. You need to go back and refresh yourself. And there's an extensive verbiage description of how to work with the material. In extreme cases, if it turns out that there's a tremendous amount of friction for some reason, it is permissible to use isopropyl alcohol. You want to check with your internal safety people about this first to lubricate the track slightly. The isopropyl alcohol will help lubricate the track and make the tool slide easily. However, when the tubing is sized correctly for the cable and you're using the proper technique, this is generally not required.